Welcome back and thank you for joining us. It's time to review the front pages of our national dailies. We'll start with Daily Trust. 2027, why PDP may not be on the ballot, and that's on pages 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Middle East crisis, what oil windfall means for Nigeria, and that's on page 8. Zamfara governor defects to APC, and that's on page 10 of the Daily Trust. How we escaped school building collapses, students, that's on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. How military lost 3 commanding officers in 1 week, and that's on page 5 of the Daily Trust. Grab yourself a copy and stay informed.
All right, next up, we have the Guardian newspaper right in front. Oil rally retreats as Nigerians await pump price review. Prices surged by 47% in Nigeria, stable in other African markets. Stakeholders cite loopholes in deregulation as subsidy worries resurface. Inflation concerns over rising fuel prices as Dangote assures of supply. And petrol hits 1,285 in Abuja, 1,250 in Ibadan, and 1,200 in Lagos. All that on page 6 of The Guardian. At the top left, we have opposition states shrink to 5 as Zamfara governor joins APC. That's on page 3. And we have CSO raises alarm over children, women malnutrition in IDP camps. That's on page 5 of The Guardian. Airfares may rise as aviation fuel hits 1,600 naira per litre. That's on page 5 as well. Insecurity, vehicle theft upset tin can users despite United States commendation. That's on page 15 of business on The Guardian. Troops confirm repel Boko Haram ISWAP attacks in Borno and Yobe. That's on page 30. PDP crisis deepens as Turaki heads to Supreme Court. ADC woos Makinde Mohammed, and that's on page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. At the bottom, we have Tinubu, Obasanjo, others seek stronger African trade at ITF 2027 sign-in. That's on page 5 of The Guardian. That is all on the paper. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay informed.
Next up, we have Daily Sun. Nigeria's stock surge in dollar terms despite global tensions, and that's on page 25. Marketers project 2,000 naira fuel price. Dangote hikes petrol, diesel price to 1,175 naira to 1,620 naira. That's on page 25. PDP, Turaki-led National Working Committee heads for Supreme Court, rejects appeal court judgment voiding party's national convention in Ibadan, and that's on page 6. Southwest APC, I'll give Tinubu 10 million votes in 2027, says Senate leader. That's on page 27 of the Daily Sun. Organ harvesting link. Your allegations against me fabricated, PPRO tells Shawari, and that's on page 4. Kaduna, 12 abducted as terrorists hit another Kajuru community. IG vows to reclaim Kwara communities from terrorists, and that's on page 4. Soludo tours schools to reinforce Monday resumption activities, and that's on page 29 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Grab yourself a copy and stay informed. And joining us this morning to review the front pages of our national dailies is the Programs Director, Daily Trust Foundation, Mr. Theophilus Abba. Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Good morning.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with Daily Trust. At 2027, why PDP may not be on the ballot. We've seen the fresh concerns that have emerged over the fate of the People's Democratic Party ahead of the 2027 general elections, following the new judgment by the Court of Appeal that has further complicated the party's lingering leadership. So what is your take on this?
Well, it's quite, it's unbelievable, that the PDP is, facing this kind of a condition. Because remember, PDP was the ruling party for many years, and they projected that they were going to run Nigeria for about 40 years. Then we're having this, issue coming up because of the crisis in the 2023 election. The party was quite strong, but then because of the disagreement, internal wrangling over the 2023 presidential candidature, we now have all this. So it's very unfortunate. And when you look at what has happened, personally, I always feel that we expect the judiciary, to be very clear in whatever judgment they pass. Now, the appeal court says the PDP secretary was suspended. That is Mr. Anyang. That suspension was in order. You understand? That's what the appeal court said. And it's also saying that the convention that was held in Ibadan was not in order. Now, if you look at it, the convention, where the convention that was held in Ibadan was actually the aftermath of the crisis that arose from the suspension of Anyang. Now, Anyang was suspended, the suspension was in order. Then that's okay, the convention that was held in Enugu was not in Ibadan, was not in order, complicating these issues. I was thinking that if you said, okay, this suspension of Anyang was in order, then you should uphold that convention that was held in Ibadan. But they say no, they are not upholding it. And then the party says it's going to the Supreme Court. Of course, that is the right thing to do. Now, the implication, like the paper analyzed, is that the PDP will not be on the ballot because primary elections should take place between April and May. And if you are still going to court, to know whether the executive, that the leaders of the party that was who were elected in Ibadan can stand, you will still have that problem. It means that you will not be so organized to hold your primary elections and select those who represent you at the various levels before the deadline in May. So that is why the paper is saying that, look, they may not be on the ballot. And if you look at it, it now follows that governors have to jump from PDP to other parties, especially now APC, to be able to stand the election. I think the Zamfara State governor has left the PDP because if you remain in PDP, it's most likely you are not going to contest an election. You won't have a platform for an election. I can now understand why most of the PDP governors, have decided to move to APC or move to other parties. Some have moved to Accord Party and all these things because it's becoming very clear that with the crisis, internal crisis in the party, it's going to be unlikely for them to stand to contest elections. That for those who are going for a second time in 2027 election. And to me, this is not good. The judiciary must, be very clear in their judgment. They should not be giving issue judgment that will further complicate issues. If you say this faction, you are wrong, then you should also be able to tell them that, oh, this faction, what you did was right. But if you now say this faction, okay, you are wrong, you too, you are wrong, everybody is wrong, and then you keep the party in the limbo. I don't think that is actually the right thing, because we expect the judiciary to say, okay, we know what's happening in the society. We understand that when judges pass judgment, they should understand the context, of the judgment. I'm not a judge, but from what we read, judges will have to understand the context. When they are passing, they say, look, in the context of what we are saying, this is what ought to be. You understand? Then we even had a judgment in Nigeria where somebody did not contest an election, and he said, no, I was the rightfully nominated candidate for this election. But then the president, the then President Obasanjo brought another candidate. The candidate contested the election and won. Then when this man went to court and said, look, I was the one who ought to have been on the ballot, the judge may say, yes, you are the one who ought to have been on the ballot. And also we say that you are the one who has won the election. We'll give it to you. Because in that context, they feel that, look, if you say he was the one who has won the election, I did not give him the victory, it means that he will need to go to another court to say, look, this guy who won the election shouldn't be there. Then you now begin to face other forms of controversy. So we want the judiciary, in this political atmosphere, never to confuse us. The judiciary must, we know that they interpret the law, but they have to interpret it in the context of the condition we have found ourselves. It will actually be a tragedy, let me put it that way now. Maybe that is hyperbolic for PDP not to be on the ballot in 2027 election. It will actually be a tragedy. And the courts must ensure that this thing is done, that the right thing is done, so that a party that's as huge as PDP is not swept away from the political space.
All right. Dr. Theophilus, we only have 1 minute to go, so let's look at this story. How military lost 3 commanding officers in 1 week. Now, we've seen the attacks that has been going on in Maiduguri, and the Boko Haram and the ISWAP have attacked in different locations within 7 days period in Borno, and a lot of the officers in the military have been lost, and commanding officers at that. What is your take on it, and how what is your opinion of what is going on and its continuity at this point?
Well, I sympathize with the army and the family members of these commanding officers who were killed. And I think if you read, the story about the killings, you will discover that the Boko Haram fighters overwhelmed the soldiers. That means that if we had 200 soldiers, Boko Haram came with about 1,000. So even if you killed 100 Boko Haram fighters, you still have the other 900 to contend with. And this has been the strategy of Boko Haram, that when they are attacking a location, attacking a place, attacking a military base, they say, okay, we are ready to lose. They know the number of soldiers that can confront them, challenge them, you understand? And they will now maybe bring 4 times their own fighters
to overwhelm them.
To overwhelm them. And so when they come, you kill 100, you kill maybe 200, you understand? As you are killing them and your weapon is being exhausted, the others will surge. They come forward, others will come forward, and then they overpower you. I think that's what has been happening, in the confrontation between the military and Boko Haram, especially the recent cases. So that doesn't mean that our soldiers are not brave, they are not strong, but the numbers, the numbers. And that's what where I think that the military, the government, they must do something about it. We can't expose too few soldiers to these guys who don't even care about whether they live or not. They just go to fight this war without bothering whether or not they are returning to their homes. And so it's quite unfortunate, but there has to be a strategy to counter what these guys are doing.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Theophilus Abba, Programs Director, Daily Trust Foundation, for shedding more light on the front pages of our national dailies this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we've come to the end of Daybreak on Trust TV. Thank you to all our viewers, callers, and our guests as well for contributing so much to the show. I am Hawa Adamikiawa. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. so you don't miss out on another round of Daybreak. Have a wonderful day.
And I am Mimuna Bagudu. Follow Trust TV on all social media platforms. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.